shooting down in the woods. He wouldn't leave here even if he could. His life is good, yeah!
Hickok45 coming to you from the beautiful hills, the White Hills of Middle Tennessee. Yes, your internet shooting companion coming to you from the snowy, icy South. And that's not big news to you either, because so much of the country is under snow and ice as I speak. Now, the temperatures are supposed to warm a little, and maybe it'll get washed away before you're listening to this. But as I rattle on here in the reloading room, I'm looking at white stuff out the window. Yes, here in Tennessee, it's not a window, it's a winder. And, oh man, I actually like snow, but I don't know. I guess when it comes with so much ice and the aggravation of that, it's just not quite as much fun, might I say. I know many of you are getting it, where you live just as well or worse, and depending on what worse means, how you define worse. If you live north of Tennessee, Nashville, you probably have more snow than we have by far. In fact, I know you do. Even up in Kentucky, they have huge amounts, and then on up further north, massive amounts of it. And the thing we get down here in Tennessee that makes it so bad when we do get it, we may go all all winter and hardly get any. But we'll usually get one snow year, maybe a couple, maybe a small one, and a little bit bigger one of a couple of inches or something. And then occasionally we'll get dumped on 4, 5, 6 inches. But that may be 6 years between those. But what we do get almost every year is one day at least, maybe 2 or 3, or 2 or 3 different episodes of it where we get some ice. We get some freezing rain and that sort of thing, which is really worse than 6 inches of snow if you're trying to get around. Okay, one thing I know that I've had a lot of experience in snow, and if it's really cold and you've got 4 or 5 inches of snow, okay, yeah, you got to inconvenient, you got to work around it a little bit, but generally speaking, if you've got a car with say front-wheel drive or 4-wheel drive, all-wheel drive, you can just go on about your business if you're careful, particularly if it's cold. And then, as you know, you folks who live in the snowy areas, once it warms up, though, it gets above freezing, then it gets more slippery. And then especially if you have ice involved with it. But when it's really cold and you have snow, it's not that big a deal getting around. If you have a decent car with 4-wheel drive, again, front-wheel drive even, it's just not that big a deal. So when you hear people complaining and crying and moaning down here in the South about an inch of snow and that sort of thing, it's a couple of reasons. 3 reasons maybe. Partly they're not used to it. Another thing is it can be worse, like I said, because it usually involves ice, more ice than you get up north, and really treacherous situations where it doesn't matter if you have 4-wheel drive. If you're on packed ice going up a hill, it doesn't matter that all tires are getting traction. They're all spinning instead of one of them, maybe. It has to be pretty bad for that to happen with a 4-wheel drive. And I forgot what the other reason was. No, I didn't. We don't have the equipment to remove it down here either. I know when I used to travel the whole country, and I was up in the Northeast a lot, and wow, I was up there during some big snows, some of those classic New York upstate snows. Drove across the entire state, and by the time I got to Buffalo, I think there were 13 or 15 inches of snow or something. It was like blizzard, but it was just incredible. Everybody had a snowplow on their truck, and the roads, they would work on them and get them cleared. And lots of equipment for that. And the thing about Nashville is we don't get enough of it to have 150 snow removal trucks, all at $200,000 a piece, sitting somewhere, growing cobwebs for 5, 6, 7 years. It's just, we're better off really just to almost shut down for a week if we have it this bad, which we've done basically this week. Schools have been out all week, and a lot of people have not gone into work and just different things. Yeah, so what? This happens pretty rarely, and so that's just the way it's just makes more sense to deal with that way than spending millions or billions of tax dollars on all kinds of equipment for that one big snow every 6-8 years. So anyway, I know you hear us moaning a lot about it, and those are kind of the reasons. I think it's just harder on us. We're not used to it, and it's usually ice. It's not just snow, and it's all that temperature's usually right there in the high 20s and the low 30s, and it's in that range where it just gets slippery, whatever you have. In fact, I recall writing a letter to the editor to that effect. Gosh, must have been 25, 30 years ago. Somebody had written either a letter or a column or something about how horrible people are in the South about snow, and how we're so unprepared and all this kind of thing, and how they had lived in the North and the roads would get cleared off, and they could not believe that 2 inches of snow would stay on the back roads down here for all this time. There's just different things like that. And I used to write letters to the editor, not every week. I did have a life. I wasn't one of those people that was always trying to get something in the newspaper, every day, every week or something. But 4 or 5 times a year, I might write a letter to the editor. Back in the 70s, that was how else did you get your voice heard on something? Most of the time, I would write about guns, firearms, gun control, that kind of thing. And come to think of it, I think I got 3 stars for that letter on the snow business and everything. The local Tennessean would assign you 3 stars, wow, an award, send you a check, and you were invited to the banquet, what they call it, the letters to, I don't know, the letter writers 3-star banquet or something at the end of the year that they'd have for everybody who had been awarded 3 stars, and sometime during that year. And I remember they gave me 3 stars for that one, and because I guess they thought I made a pretty good point. And they never did give me 3 stars on anything I wrote about gun control. Imagine that, a liberal newspaper. They would publish them, though, quite often. I was surprised. And I thought I had, of the ones I would write, I thought I had, I don't know, 2 or 3, really good ones. Made points well, and but they're a very left-leaning paper, and openly admit it. And so I guess it was just a little too much to ask to get any kind of award for a pro-gun letter to the editor. That's what we used to do. That's what we used to advise people to do. Back then, there was no forum on the internet. There was nothing, no YouTube. There was nothing like that. And so people would really read the letters to the editor. I don't even read them now. I rarely even look at a newspaper unless it's online. But that people would actually read. I would read them because you'd hear kind of voices of people, even though you knew that the vehicle for it was going to filter out anything that was too good, if it was on maybe the conservative side or the pro-gun side or anything like that. But they would publish them lots of times. So anyway, that was the forum. Sad, huh? Man, how things have changed. Think about all the places I could go right now on this computer to get opinions about things. We've gone in the other direction, haven't we? About 1,000 miles. Oh man, I mean, you couldn't even scratch the surface if you went around reading forums for a year, could you? I mean, just everybody has an opinion on everything. Back then, everybody had an opinion too. It's just every day, only 4, 5, 6 people got theirs out in front of folks. So I always thought that was one of our obligations as shooters to do that and try to put a little common sense into the argument, at least get ourselves heard. There is another voice. And back then, we were sort of in the closet. Guns are kind of out of the closet now, and no pun intended. There's so many people into firearms, and it's mainstream, but it wasn't quite as mainstream then. You were more careful. I've talked about that. You were more careful about just bringing it up, in polite company. It's, like I've said before, it's almost like admitting you were gay or something and coming out of the real closet, in polite company. Oh, you have guns. It just depends on where you were. But anyway, that was always fun, writing a letter and then seeing it appear in the paper, because you had gatekeepers then. Any of us can now write a million things and it's posted on the internet, right? But back then, you'd write a letter, send it in, put it in an envelope, and mail it the old-fashioned way. And then, when it all of a sudden there it was in the newspaper, which almost everybody read at that time. That was pretty cool. Wow, you were published. Hey, look at this, Mark Twain, Shakespeare. I got a letter to the editor. Anyway, I don't guess I've told any of that before, but on myself. But in fact, I still got most of those letters around here. I think I got one or two of them posted out here, the pro-gun ones on the wall in the reloading room, and all the junk I've got posted and everything else. But anyway, what was the other one? I got they gave me 3 stars for, didn't really earn them. It's up to the editorial board. Oh, I know. Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was my first one. Oh, man, I was excited. First time I got 3 stars. I was still teaching in my first incarnation, probably the mid 70s. Had been about 75. Yeah. It was, oh, yeah. All the city officials were trying to close down the strip joints or something. And I don't know what all they were doing. They were legislating all sorts of morality and things down there. And I just wrote a note in support of them, because I was tired of being dragged into those strip clubs, and that, I wouldn't really see anything wrong with it, except for the fact that it's a requirement to attend those shows. And that just didn't seem like what we should have in a free country, et cetera, et cetera. So, so I took that satirical approach and everything. And again, they thought that was clever enough to give me a big award, and I got to go to the banquet that year. It was lots of fun. So I didn't mean to get into all this ego padding stuff here. But anyway, those are some old days of mine that you might be interested in. How to get off on that. Let's see, what was that? Oh, there's another stupid point I was going to make about that. What was it? Oh, yeah, I know what it was, because it's just like now. It's just like all the stuff we do and you do on the internet, excuse me. You can make a joke, and you can be tongue-in-cheek, and you think nobody's going to fall for it, but they do. One of the funniest things about that letter, the experience of that letter, because was that, as I said, I took the approach. I just wrote, of course, my thought on, why is everybody so upset? You don't have to go into those shows. That's not that big a deal. And is in Printer's Alley, if you're familiar with Nashville at all, back then it was really a classy and a fairly famous area. There were 3 or 4 strip shows there, and they were world famous. And people who'd come to Nashville would go to those. They were couples, they weren't sleazy places or anything. And it was Printer's Alley was just one of the places that a lot of tourists would go and see the shows. They were classy. They were different than a lot of that goes on now. Of course, I wouldn't know anything about the strip clubs now, right? But anyway, so that was my approach in the letter. I think I still have it somewhere, about how again it was just horrible that these strip clubs exist, and but the worst part is the fact that there's no choice in the matter, and that attendance is required, that kind of thing. I went on like that, and so obvious to anybody with a brain, I was being sarcastic. Well, you have to give your address, and they actually, at least back then, they posted your address like at the bottom of the letter, and it was funny. I got 2 or 3 letters, personal letters written to me from, I guess they were strippers in those clubs, upset that I was saying all that, because it's not true. You don't have to come to these things. You're not required to come to these things, etc. Oh, man, I thought, okay. I should have written back just one line. Honey, can you spell gullible? Or can you spell sarcasm? They did not even get the point. They were upset with me because I was making some outlandish statement. And again, I don't mean to to be negative about those young ladies. I'm sure they all didn't fall for that, but there were some who did. I even got a call. They got my number somehow. I got a call one night, I remember, and it was the same thing. Some irate babe, probably just finished her act and had remembered my letter. Well, what's that got to do with guns? I don't know. But, you know, it's probably the snow and the cabin fever. And my brain is just, I promise I haven't been drinking. But as I've told you before, I'm not a big drinker. And so I wouldn't choose to drink before I do a radio show, even though it probably appears I have, right? Oh, before we go too far, let me remind you, since I don't know, there might be some people that start listening to the radio shows. They think, you know what, I've never listened to one of those radio shows. Let me see what that's all about. And of course, they'd probably only make it about 6 minutes, right, before they say, okay, bye. Where's a gun video? But let me update you on meet and greets. We'll throw this out there a lot because every time we do a meet and greet, I get letters the next week. Speaking of letters, messages. Hickok, man, I didn't know you were going to be in Knoxville. I didn't know you were going to be in Lexington, man. I didn't know that. I just lived 3 minutes from there. Well, we announced it about 10 different times, put it on Facebook, put it on the discussion, the main, where you can write stuff on your YouTube channel, mention it in vlogs and stuff. So the only place we don't mention it is in shooting videos, I guess. Maybe we should. We just try not to clutter up shooting videos with too much. So anyway, but anybody really wants to come, or that would, we feel like that would actually drive to meet us somewhere, whether it's 3 miles or 25. You probably listen to the radio shows and and watch the vlogs, and you catch the Facebook postings, which I think also are posted over on Twitter, whatever I put on Facebook. So we catch most people with it. And but anyway, let me go ahead and tell you and stop yakking so much here. So let's see, the first one I got scheduled, and we're not launching into doing one of these every month or anything, but we just felt like we hadn't done it for a while, and if it's pretty close, we'll do a couple here. One of them, let's see, the first one, in March 28th, I posted on Facebook as soon as I got the date nailed down, is March 28th. It's the last Saturday in March, okay, at Triggers Firearms in Florence, Kentucky. They've got about 4 locations up there, I think, but this one is in Florence, Kentucky. They contacted me, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if we'd do that, and we're going to do it. They're going to pay most of the travel expenses and stuff, and so we're going to do it. And let's see, the next one after that, it will be the NRA convention. We're not sure exactly which day, but it will be probably that Friday or Saturday at the NRA convention in Nashville. And at the federal booth, we will do one. And I'll let you know as soon as I get the time on it. But you probably already know whether you're coming to that or not. So, but I'll give you the specifics on that. And we may be doing another one there. I'm not sure. The possibility of maybe at another booth or a potential sponsor. I'm not sure. We'll know by obviously before we go. But we will definitely be doing one. Well, I say definitely. We haven't worked out the time, but our plan and Federal's plan is for us to do the same kind of thing we did at the SHOT Show at the NRA convention. So, and then at April the 25th, a couple weeks later, we're going to do one at Elks Outdoors in Pleasant View, Tennessee. Now, he is the fellow Jim there who checks in guns for me, helps us out and everything. It's a small shop, but it's just right off I-24 there in Pleasant View. It's about midway between Clarksville and Nashville off I-24. It's exit 24, in fact, easy to remember. So just like half a mile off the exit ramp there in town on Main Street, and we'll give you more information on that. So and that's planning to do that one from 11 to 2, that day. The one at Triggers is, from 1 to 3, I believe, 1 to 3 at Triggers, and I posted that already on Facebook. So, okay, so that's 3 of them we know of, and we may schedule another one or two in the later, say in the summer, okay? And already after posting that one about triggers, firearms in Florence, I've had several people write me from around the country, and a couple of them were gun shops wanting us to come out there and do a meet and greet in different places. And I love doing them. Like I've told you, I love meeting viewers and love hanging out in gun shops. So I get both at once there. So I love doing them. It's just we're not in the meet and greet business. Yeah, I mean we making videos, and posting them and answering mail 90% of my time. So we can't be taken off doing a lot of these things, and plus it's usually on our own dollar anyway. Yeah, and I tell you that one of the problems, I'll be honest with you, or should I be honest with you? No, I don't like to be honest with people. No, it's been very expensive doing a lot of the meet and greets we've done. The travel and different things, and so it just kind of depends on what's going on with that. And I've had a lot of requests to do things, go speak at places and appear at different events, and they're like 10 hours away, or they're 15 hours away, or they're even 4 hours away, and different things like that. Again, to be honest with you, I can't just be doing that all the time and taking off, and it's expensive and the time and everything that, but I love doing it. That's the irony. I love doing it. But it's just expensive, and we do a lot of that. That's where we put some of the money into things like that. But we just can't take off to somebody in North Carolina when it's coming to their gun shop, for example. Probably, I don't know, 12-hour drive one way, a couple 3 motel nights, all the kind of food and the food. So it's an expensive proposition to go shake your hands. What it comes down to. And I don't feel comfortable asking for a lot of money doing it. That always strikes me the wrong way. It shouldn't. I mean, we obviously we should at least cover expenses, right? But then it involves maybe 3-4 days, travel and going to do it. So, I don't know. I mean, obviously, I guess a lot of people have no problem. Hey, they just probably, yeah, man, no problem. Cover my expenses plus $2,000, and yeah, we'll come, no problem. Or 10,000 or whatever someone might charge if they really are a celebrity. And that's the problem. I've talked about that before. That we're not real celebrities, and can't be, or don't feel comfortable charging tons of money for that kind of thing. So anyway, I don't know. Of course, we'd get more places if we did charge, but that's just the way it is. This is kind of weird, But we're definitely to the point where we got to have expenses covered, or we can't do it. And then, maybe something beyond that, I don't know. But I do enjoy those things, even though they're a little tiring if you're standing around for 3 hours. But the time goes quickly if enough of you show up, and they're fun. They're really fun, actually seeing how ugly you people are who watch the videos. But anyway, the first one coming up is up in Florence, Kentucky, again at Triggers Firearms. So I expect you all to be there. So I don't care where you live. Don't give me lame excuses again. Oh, I'm up in Canada. I'm in Mexico. I'm in Paris, France, that is. I'm in Albuquerque. Just get your butt in the car and head there, man. Come on. It's a nice big gun shop. So I've not even been in it yet. I didn't know it was there. And I'm from Kentucky. It's just been there 2 or 3 years, but I've gotten good reports on them, and they really one of the coolest things I have heard from a couple of different people is that they are a very friendly shop, and you don't have that gun shop attitude that you can get in some gun shops. And boy, that right there impresses me, because we all have seen that gun shop attitude, haven't we? Maybe in several gun shops. So anyway, so put those on your calendar if you live anywhere close, like within 1,000 miles, because I know you'll want to be there. Okay. I hope I wasn't talking about anything inappropriate there a minute ago for young ears. That is one of our primary drives, or part of our mission. A very important part of our mission is to keep everything appropriate for youngsters and just everybody, So anyway, I don't think I got off track there too much, did I? But speaking of guns, that's what we're all about, right? Listen to this. What's that sound like? Listen carefully. I'm going to pull the trigger. Click. Some of you probably guessed it's a 1911. But then again, you might be so lame you don't even know which one. Yeah, pathetic. Actually, it's a firearm. I've shot it some, but we've not done a video yet. And if the snow and cold doesn't give up and give us a break here, I don't know when we're going to get it done. But it is SIG 1911. Haha, yeah. You thought I'd never end up with a SIG 1911. We've had a few requests, and this is one. It is the Scorpion. It's just the Sig Sauer 1911s. That's the model, I guess, and it's the Scorpion. Maybe Scorpion's the model. Scorpion's really the color, right? And the fellows up at Tennessee Gun Country lent this to us, as well as a couple other firearms recently, and we've not gotten a video with it yet. So I'm anxious to, because I have shot it, and I think I like it. It other than the rail, it's got the rail, you know, but it's got everything else I like on it, and it feels good. It does not have the full-length guide rod. I've shot it and broken it down, field stripped it, and it field strips easily. It's just like a dream. So even though it's reality, has night sights. Oh yeah, there you go. Now, the night sights I'm not crazy about, because they're those typical night sights that are great when it's dark, but when you pull it up in the daylight, they don't exactly jump out at you. Plus, I don't know if you all experience this, but there's something about night sights, and these are probably Trijicon. They're probably good ones. I don't know. Not sure. I'll look it up. They're good night sights, but good, quote unquote. What people consider good night sights. But they're the same ones that look like they came on my Ed Brown Cobra Carry, and I had them changed out. Switched them out with the Brown family, and sent those back, I think, and they sent me a better, a more obvious front sight. I just have a problem with them. There's something about that front sight with some of these night sights, even the good ones, the Trijicon or whatever. When you pull it up in the daylight, not only does it not jump out at you as a clear front sight picture because it's all black or all white or all red or anything, you know, it's black, of course, and it's got that insert with a little white ring around it, and it's got the tritium insert and all that, and it just ends up being blurry to me. It really does. I almost lose it. It's just a little blurry. Maybe I'm spoiled by the Glock front sights, but I mean, it's bad. I'd have to change that out if I was going to carry it. That's about the only negative I've uncovered on this gun, and I guess for most people, that's not a negative. But for me, it is. You've heard me talk about that before. One of my pet peeves are night sights that are only good for nighttime. Okay? And most of the shooting we do is daytime. I realize if you ever had to use your firearm, there's a good chance it'll be low light. But I don't know. I want to be able to see my front sight very clearly, whether it's daylight or nighttime, and that's me. Talked about it before. I won't bore you with it further, but it is something to consider if you are contemplating installing night sights on your gun. Don't just take some sample, you know, they have at the gun shop or wherever, into a dark room and look at it, you know, or they say, yeah, step over there in the bathroom, turn the light out, and oh man, you'll love that's cool. Well, look down that thing in the daylight and see what it looks like to you. And there are some that really are good, not many that are good both day and night. The True Glows are good for both. I think I've seen, who is it, Ameriglow? It's Ameriglow, I guess. We have a restaurant in Nashville called Amerigo's. I think it's Ameriglow, GLO or something. But I think they have a set that's similar. And then there's one or two others, but you got to look around, get something you like for both day and night, because you'll probably shoot the gun in both. But this is a cool gun. That's my impression now. I'm going to shoot it some more. Might shoot it some today, even in the ice and snow here. I don't know when we're going to get a video with it. But yeah, looking forward to it. 45, of course. 45 caliber. Good old 1911s. They're fun to shoot, as many of you know. Of course, a few of you probably hate them. And then again, I happen to have another firearm out here. I was going to shoot one of them, maybe both. Listen to this. Now that sound like, oh yeah, another AR, huh? Yep. Well, this actually is my Colt, my what, 60, I forgot the model number now, 6120, is that it? You know, it's just your standard Colt AR, and I've had for what, 2, 3, 4 years, and I just thought, I have not shot this lately. I've been messing with several ARs from new companies, old companies, Daniel Defense and Faxon and Trojan and different companies, and I thought, you know what, I'm gonna get the old Colt out. The thing about the Colt is it's different. You know, it came with a removable carry handle. Of course, it's got the front sight, the traditional front sight triangle, or whatever you call it there. And I remember when I got this, thinking that I wasn't ready when I bought this. I wasn't ready to buy one of those newish ARs that had the full rail, and just they just still appeared kind of strange to me, where you didn't have this front sight post. What's that thing called? You know, you know what I'm talking about. the sticks up there and the big A-frame there. And I just wasn't ready for one of those. It just didn't seem like an AR without that, you know. And then the carry handle, okay, that I can compromise on. This one's neat. I can take it off and I can put a red dot on it if I want to, or a flip up sight, different kind of sight on it if I like. But now, a few years later, I realize, having owned now and fired so many ARs with just a full rail, that you really don't need any of this that this gun has, do you? In fact, it's kind of in the way, but still, I kind of like it. It's a classic, and I probably never let this gun go. For one thing, it's smooth as glass, that bolt. I mean, it's other than my other Colt, the one I bought in 84, 83, this one is the smoothest I have. That one and this one, they're the smoothest bolts. It's funny, and there's no super nickel boron coating or anything on them either. It's all mil spec. You know, Colt knows how to build an AR, but you I got the handrail on it. I had it off for a long time. I had a flip up sight on it, and as I acquired a couple of other ARs that have the full rail, the full top rail I'm speaking of, and everything, monolithic rails and all that. Well, you know what? This one is sort of a hybrid. It's a half and half. If I take the rear handle off, I've still got this front sight, traditional front sight. Well, I just put that back on there, and this is my traditional Colt, one of my traditional ARs, and M4, as they call it, M4 carbine. And it's just the way I'm probably going to leave it. I mean, the sight picture looks just as good as any of the others. So, but anyway, that's what I had out here, and you know, good old Colt. There's something about it. Some of you, if you're young, you don't have the same I don't know, the connotations of Colt are just not the same for you. You may have shot your first 4 or 5 different AR-15s. Could have been anybody, Daniel Defense, Smith & Wesson. Could have been any number of companies that just haven't even been making them more than 10 years, and you may not have even been aware that Colt made AR-15s. Yeah, so obviously it's going to have different connotations for you. Same with 1911s. Everybody makes 1911s and these ARs. But again, going back to the 60s and 70s, and when I was getting into shooting, you know, if you bought a 1911, it was a Colt, and same with an AR. Really, you know anybody that made them? Nobody did make them, hardly, you know, and that changed. It began to change, of course, slowly, and there were more available from other companies. Now, personally, I've gotten over that. I don't look at an AR-15 or a 1911 and think, well, if it doesn't have Colt on the side, it's just not right. It's probably not as good. I've gotten past all of that because I know there's AR makers that may be better than Colt. Now, when you talk about just the basics, though, of properly building it. I don't know that anybody actually makes them better than Colt, but in terms of features and the special things that you can do, there's some that would be considered better, right? And same with 1911s. Colt still makes a pretty good 1911, but there are companies that might make better ones. Well, there are your custom and even your semi-custom. I'm not sure what Colt's doing now in terms of MIM parts and that kind of thing, but there are companies I can think of course, Dan Wesson, which we reviewed, and of course all your custom makers. Every piece of those things is it's machined out of steel. There's no mold injected parts and all that kind of thing in them anywhere. So Colt actually does not make the very best. Now they may have one in their line like that. I don't know. But anyway, some of you are thinking, oh man, 1911s, AR-15s, my least favorite firearms. Maybe especially a 1911, the last gun you're going to carry or maybe use. But I don't know. I think people give them too hard a time. I don't carry a 1911, and they're just cool guns. When you get right down to it, think about the guns that you may not even carry. I saw a comment on a video recently. Somebody said, I thought it was funny. He said something about, it's funny Hickok acts like everybody can carry a gun or carries a gun. And of course I forget about that, because in this country, most people have that option. Okay, and a lot of people are looking. Huge numbers are trying to get that perfect carry gun or get one they really like. And so, but I know that's not the only niche, the only market for a fine pistol, of course. But if you do carry, and that does put it into a different category. Is why I'm talking about this. Once you get that gun that's the perfect size and you can shoot well, it's probably not going to be a 1911. It could be. It is for some people, but it may be a Glock 26 or a small M&P, or a SIG. I don't know. It could be anything, couldn't it? But once you get that, maybe a couple of them, favorite carry guns, what are you going to do? Is that it? You're not going to ever have anything else. You're not ever going to look at a firearm to maybe just enjoy at the range, or maybe because of its historical value, historical significance. Is that doesn't appeal to you at all? So you got your Glock 26 and you got an open class competition gun with a longer barrel, and it's a polymer gun too, or something, or whatever it is, and that's all you need. Well, yeah, maybe. Just depends. If you're really into firearms, though, you're probably going to expand your field of interest, is my guess. And you may not be there yet. If you're just getting into firearms. I think when I first started getting into firearms, I didn't appreciate the history of them as much, and didn't know how much I would, or obviously what firearms it might appeal to me later on. So before you badmouth any particular firearm or class firearm, think about that, because you may have 5 of them in 10 years. That's just the way it is, right? And what's so funny, I think a lot of people, they judge a firearm, rifle, shotgun, handgun, based on maybe whether there's something out there that is better than it in some ways. It was like the recent video we did on the M1A. I expected a lot more of that. The preponderance of comments, is people, wow, they love those guns and they want to get one sometime, or they've got one already and love theirs, but there were a few people that, why would you buy one of those things? And there's better guns out there now, and all that sort of. And I mentioned in that video, if I was going to battle tomorrow, I'd probably take it with that cartridge. I'd take my Scar 17 probably, but still, I think we need to be careful and not judge the M1A, the M14 poorly just because there is a Scar 17 or an ACR, or there's other guns out there that maybe are made better, and even some M1As that are made better from Fulton Armory or Smith Enterprises, what's that other one? The LBR I was looking at one day. These companies, again, that machine everything out of steel or use old surplus U.S. parts or that sort of thing. I mean, they are what they are. Just like a Colt single action Army. Just because it's not the best carry gun, are you gonna like never own one? Duh. Or you don't like 1911s, you would never carry one. You don't like the thumb safety, or they're too heavy, or whatever it might be. Does that mean you're never going to own one to just take to the range and enjoy and appreciate the history of it? Think about John Browning, light some candles, you know, cross your legs and hum at him or something, you know. I mean, some of these firearms have been around so long, and they have so much history. Even Smith and Wesson revolvers, double action revolvers. You know, I could just be happy carrying a 6-shot Smith and Wesson double action revolver, you know, if I had to. But again, it's that capacity thing and you know, size. It's so easy to have more than 6 rounds. It's so easy to have 10 or 15 in a pretty small firearm, right? So that's the thing that always takes me away from the revolvers. If it weren't for that, man, I could carry a K-frame revolver, that little 65, non-adjustable sights. I can shoot that gun as well as any gun I have, and it's just it's not light, but you know, it's just that 3-inch. If you're not familiar, that 3-inch bull barrel K-frame Smith & Wesson 357 Magnum stainless. It's the one I ground the hammer off on. Hey, I'm as well armed with that as anything, except for capacity. You know, sometimes I think maybe I'd be better off just carry that gun and then have a Glock 17 somewhere too on my person. Man. Anyway, what else? Other guns. Well, it's a Mauser, an Uzi, a Lee Enfield, a single shot rifle, muzzle loaders. Yeah. So, you know, if we're making too much fun of a 1911 or an AR-15 or whatever it might be, I think sometimes we're making fun of them for the same reason, or we're thinking of them poorly, maybe for the same reasons we're thinking poorly of all these other guns. They're not necessarily, they don't have to be your gun. We don't have to judge them by the ultimate standard necessarily. You know, just even the AR-15, I don't think of it as being historical, but wow, time has flown by, hasn't it? It really is kind of a historical firearm. It goes way back, you know. So anyway, just a little preaching at you there about this reminder that we might want to be nicer about some of these other firearms that are not our favorites. They're probably somebody's favorite, and I try to remember that doing videos and not just trash mouth certain guns. I try to be honest about whatever I'm looking at and what I think about it, but I try not to just condemn something horribly. You know, it's probably any gun really that shows up on the shooting table out there in a video or not in a video, it is the favorite gun, the gun thousands of people are probably carrying or relying on for home defense or something, you know. And if it works, it's reliable, hey, who are we to judge, really? You know, I mean, we could offer opinions, and there might be better choices, we think, and that sort of thing. As long as we're doing it in a kind manner, you know, no big deal with that, I guess. But still, I think we're a little too harsh sometimes. I remember a guy, I think he caught a lot of flack for it. His name was Jan something. He was editor of several gun magazines, Liberal Rel or something, and a gun writer and an editor, and he would occasionally write something, an article about maybe of some old Smith 6-shot. And I think that's what he carried at some point, a Model 10 or something. And he would speak to that issue occasionally about how we get too caught up in all these fancy guns, sexy guns, and even high capacity guns, and plain old 6-shot revolver is just as effective as it ever was, and in the hands of somebody who knows how to handle it, it can do get the job done. And he would bring everybody back to reality on that sort of thing occasionally, and I always thought that was good, because we put too much focus on this gun's better than that gun, and that one has this, and it has a safety, and this one doesn't have a safety, and we get a little too caught up in some of that, I think. But anyway, there's lots of factors there, and that's what makes the hobby so much fun, because it's just, wow, there's just no limit to the types of firearms that you can get interested in and collect, study, whether it's firearms of the Old West, World War I firearms, World War II firearms, modern firearms, handguns, rifles, shotguns, muzzle loaders. It's a rich world of interest out there, potential interest, no doubt about it. So anyway, my little lesson for the week, right? Somehow I have to justify owning all these these strange firearms, right? The variety of firearms I am addicted to. Speaking of that, since you have suffered through however much time it's been listening to this, I'll let you know that you're the first to know I could not send back the M1A Scout Squad rifle. Now I would not have had to send it back yet. Time on that, but I think I got 3 months or something with those T&E guns. I rarely keep them that long. I don't like guns coming and going. I don't like to keep them any longer than we need to. But I decided, especially after selling an AR, I just decided I'd send a check. And so now, here I am with 2 M1As, like I needed them, right? But that gun is just too sweet. I took it out 2 or 3 different days, off video. After the video we did, oh man, I thought in the video, and that day or two there, I thought, man, I tell you, this thing, I don't know if I can send it back. It's hard to justify it, but somehow I'm gonna have to buy this, and I start thinking about, I've got guns I need to sell, that kind of thing. Would I rather have this or 4 or 5 random guns or rifles that I might have that I'm not sure about whether I'm going to keep or not, whereas this one I definitely would like to own. So anyway, I got it out a couple of different days, just prowled around, took some shots with it, and just couldn't miss, and the thing feels so good. So what can I say? I know what it must be like to be addicted to drugs, because that's my addiction, firearms. And oh man, for all the reasons I just talked about too. I know there are better 308 7.62s probably out there on the market, even better M1As, but man, that thing is fine. They have lifetime warranties, and it is just a piece of history. Those M14s are a piece of history. They didn't fight any big wars, win any big wars, maybe some battles, but so they're not famous like a Garand I mentioned in the video. But boy, anybody that's owned one, anybody that has fired one, you just can't help but be in love with them. They're just wonderful rifles, and I'm a proud owner of that baby, I'll have to say. I touched on various firearms and the purpose, carry, or house gun, or whatever a minute ago. And, that's still something that I don't have worked out entirely. I don't know about you. I'm sure many of you still have gone through that over and over, and you reevaluate, partly based on maybe firearms that come out, or cartridges, or I don't know, where you live, the arrangements, maybe you've moved, you're just in a different setting or something. I don't know. It's always something we have to evaluate. And again, if somebody's listening to these conversations that are not gun people, obviously we sound paranoid, don't we? I sound paranoid or something, but same old deal. It's better to have it, not need it, than need it, not have it. I have made that argument so many times, and to people about the well, for example, here I am going off on a tangent, but that's okay. I posted recently about the restaurant I was going to go eat at, and saw the no gun sign, and posted that on Facebook, and a lot of got a lot of looks or whatever. Like, I mean, a lot of people saw that. It's funny. I'll post something like that, and I'm almost sorry that it doesn't get better exposure. I'd like for everybody in the country to know you can't carry a gun in this particular restaurant, wherever it is. You know, just give them the publicity they seem to want. You know, they put a sign on the door. So all we're doing is letting everybody know what their policies are. They can't hate that, you know, surely. So I would like to let everybody in the country know. And but yeah, a lot of people did find out from that posting, and a lot of. But anyway, one of the recurring comments you see when those things go up, it's that same old stupid line, ignorant line. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. It's just from ignorance. But why do you need a gun to go eat? Why do you need to take a gun into the restaurant? Why do you have to have a gun just to eat lunch? You know, oh man, there's so many answers to that, right? You don't need a gun to go eat lunch. You know, why do you need your shoestrings to go eat lunch? Why do you need your whatever else is in your pocket, your keys? I don't know. Why do you need 5 credit cards? You're just going to eat lunch. The thing that non-gun people just don't get, and again, it's out of ignorance. It's not necessarily their fault all the time. If they've not been around firearms, and again, firearms are like a rattlesnake to them, you know, it is. It's like, well, I'm going to go get lunch. See, I need to take my rattlesnake in with me, and then they won't let me. What's wrong with these people? Well, it probably almost seems like that, doesn't it? It's just, they just don't get it. People who go through the class, they get a carry permit, they figure out what firearm they're going to carry, they get a good holster, some training, hopefully. They're very comfortable with their firearm. They forget they have it, but they know exactly where it is and what condition it's in and how to get to it quickly, but they don't think about it. It's just like your wallet, you know. And so it really is ridiculous to say, well, why do you need to carry a big wallet in there to eat? You could just take enough money to buy your lunch. Yeah, be about the same thing. Well, I don't need my whole wallet. I could just take a credit card in. But, you know, my wallet's always with me in my pocket. I've sort of worked out a place for carrying my wallet, and I don't have to think about it. So it just sort of goes with me wherever I go. Does that make sense? Same with my pistol. It's not like, oh, going to eat, better get my gun. And that's the way they either look at it that way, or they want to look at it that way, or they want us to think, or they want to make it sound like it's some big dramatic thing to take a gun into a restaurant. Oh man, I take my gun everywhere I go, unless it's illegal. You know, it's just the unusual thing is to take it off or out of your pocket, and then figure out a place to store it safely in your car. That's the inconvenient thing. That's the weird thing, right? Again, I'm talking to people who carry here or are planning to carry at some point. Okay, so I realize if you're in another country or in one of those non-free states or some city or whatever it is where you cannot carry, then this is a non-issue for you. But if you've been carrying, it's just silly. It just strikes you as silly. And as I think I've talked about before, I fully remember when I first started carrying. So I know I can appreciate, if you've never carried a gun, how that does seem a little maybe extreme even for you. Because I remember when I first started carrying, I felt, wow, it was like, oh, my gun. It was, and you all know what I'm talking about. There's a gun. I'm wearing a gun. You know, I want to be my nose. Everybody sees it. You know, I remember those days back in the 80s, and that was strange. But then you quickly get used to it, and you don't think anything about it. So, but anyway, where was I going with all that? Security, or guns and gun choices and all that kind of thing. I still am not where I want to be on my house guns, so to speak, bedroom guns. Now, I'm well armed. Let me say that, and I'm in very good shape. Very good shape. You know, speaking of privacy and security here at the compound, you know, lots of cameras and guns and alarms and all that, but police nearby. But what I was getting at, especially my bedroom gun, I'm real happy with my Glock 41. I mean, that's the first thing to grab. 45 caliber, and again, I don't. It's not all that important to me that it's 45. I'm happy with the 9 or 40, but that Glock 41, I really like that thing. It has night sights on it, and which is good for a bedroom gun, I think. And it holds 13 easily, and big old 45. Now, one of the reasons I kind of like a 45 for that, me, I've talked about it before. I don't kneel at the altar of the 45 ACP for defense. I like it, but there's just too much science out there that show, with good ammo that 9, 40, 45, there's just not much difference at all. You're just punching holes and causing somebody to leak. That's what it comes down to. Unless you hit them in the right place, they're still going to kill you, possibly. Now, what I'm getting at, well, let me go with that 45. And one reason I like the 45 for a bedroom gun, shooting a gun in the house, probably without ear protection, right, if you had to, is it is subsonic. And it's not like touching off a nuclear round, such as some really high velocity 9 or of course a rifle. So it's going to be loud, but 45 ACP is not one of those rounds that even indoors is going to render you unconscious just from the concussion. Okay. So that really is one of the big factors in my choice of the 45. That is it. I come really close as far as the first thing to grab being a Glock 19 or 17, probably the 19, because it fits my hand better, with a 33 round magazine in it and with 147 grain ammo in it. That also would be subsonic, and that big mag. I could go either way with that, and I don't know. I'm not sure. I may end up with that, to tell you the truth. And that's kind of the main point of my intellectual discussion here, is the subsonic factor and the noise, the concussion. Now, I know I've read a lot. I've talked to people. They say if you ever have to fire a shot in defense, you're not even going to hear it, and that's probably true. But still, you might fire. There could be some scenario where you fire a couple of times and you're not finished, and there's somebody else out there, and there's something going on, and it'd be nice to be able to hear a little bit, So that's kind of what I'm getting at. How you think about that or deal with that, or you just don't care. Obviously, 357 Magnum is one of the best offensive rounds out there, in a 125 grain, really hot round. But same old deal. The blast, the concussion, your brain is going to be rattled. You're going to be, you might be unconscious. You touch one or two of those things off. You're not going to hear anything else for about a year. Okay. So anyway, that's something I think about, and I don't see much on that. I mean, you could read 100 articles on the best defense round and the best house defense gun and cartridge and rifle and handgun, all that stuff, and that is rarely ever touched on. Probably, again, because if you ever have to pull the trigger, it's not going to matter. Okay, I know all that, and I believe all that to some extent, but I still say I would like to have my hearing beyond 1 round or 2 rounds or 5 rounds. I would like to still be conscious. Okay, so that's just something I think about. I know it may be weird. I may be obsessing over it, but that's been something I have thought about for years. I think if in the car, if you ever had to touch a round off in the car, wow. I mean, and give it up. You will be unconscious if you fire a 357 Magnum inside a car. Okay, I don't care whether it bothers you or not, or whether. I mean, your brain has just got to be jello by the time you fired that a time or two. So, I don't know. It's just something to think about. But now the handgun is not as big a problem. Now, like I say, 45 ACP, subsonic, 147 grain, 9mm. You achieve that purpose, pretty well as you can expect. it's if you keep a rifle handy, that's the thing that is even a bigger issue. Like I recently, and I go back and forth. I like a shotgun a lot, but then again, boy, that capacity sure is nice. You know, I mean, if you got a 30 or a 40 round magazine in an AR, it doesn't matter what happens. You're not going to run out of ammo, probably. You know, you could be invaded by the next county, or whatever. And so I do keep that handy. But I shot around the other day with a AR, and I was outside, of course, and I thought, you know, I'm going to take my ear off and just fire one round, because I haven't heard an AR in a long time without ear protection. Don't want to, but I thought, you know, if I'm going to keep this handy, if I ever had to fire it, I'm still curious. Am I still going to be conscious? You know, after I fire this thing, and I fired a round without my ears on. And oh man, it not only jarred my brain, it hurt my left ear. It didn't just hurt it in terms of, you know, how we say hurt, quote unquote. It's so loud. It literally was pain. It's like it almost broke my eardrum. It just hurt. And of course, the concussion, you know, from a 5.56, you know, that right there, I love an AR for that purpose, because they're just utterly reliable. You know, 40 rounds, wow. You know, bring them on. You know. But I tell you, that incredible concussion, and if you ever fired it inside the house, if the concussion didn't take the roof off the house, it's going to just take your brain apart, right? Again, I'm actually, and I know I'm not Mr. Tactical, but I am thinking tactically. I would like to have my hearing through an entire encounter if there was some problem. All right, and again, that's why we keep firearms handy. So, not so that if we pull the trigger one time, we're laid out, unable to do anything just from the concussion. So that's my problem with the AR. My only problem, really, as far as inside the house defense and whatever. But you know, I still have it handy. I'm thinking of going to the AK perhaps for that, because, you know, it's still loud, but it's not nearly as bad. You don't have nearly the velocity. You got a bigger bullet. It's moving slower, but obviously plenty of punch, right? 7.62 by 39. And he's still 30, 40 rounds. So that's what I'm looking at. Just mainly for that reason. And of course, it's utterly reliable. But then again, I've never had an AR that wasn't reliable. They just always work too. So I don't know. I just wondered if some of you all ever consider that, because it's just not discussed. It's not written about much. You know, people just don't think about it. But I don't know. Leave it to me. It comes to me. It has for a lot of years. I would like to, again, not be rendered unconscious or unable to even move, because my brain has just been jarred and my ears are totally broken after one or two rounds. So that's just my thinking on the matter. Ideally, it's not a bad application for a suppressor, is it? Maybe 300 blackout. Only thing is, with those heavy 300 blackout rounds, we've had some malfunctions through a lot of different magazines. As reliable as AR magazines tend to be, they're just like always reliable. But when you get the 220 grain bullet in them, you know, it brings out that weakness of the spring, or even if it's the spring's fine, you know, it really demands a lot to be reliable with those heavy 300 blackout rounds. But that would be if you had a really reliable magazine and maybe suppressed. That would be pretty cool. About a 40 round magazine of 30 or 300 blackout, you know, at your disposal. But anyway, stuff to think about. I don't know if you think about it or not. Again, I don't worry about it. You know, we shooters, we shooting enthusiasts, we folks who think about defending our lives or family, we're not paranoid. It's just something we do. Just as we all make the arguments, for the same reason we have a spare tire or an umbrella in the car, we have fire insurance, fire extinguishers. You know, it's not that we obsess about it. It's just a why not. Just like going into the restaurant with a gun. It's not a big deal. It's a why not? Why would I take it off? To to do that. So people are gradually getting it, though. Even those who are not, or at least previously into firearms, they're gradually getting it. I think a little bit more with so many people carrying and it becoming more public and getting more publicity. And that's one reason I like to do that. I posted a picture of the sign on Facebook also, another restaurant in Pleasant View, Tennessee, the Village, the Village restaurant, I forget the name of it now, but because they have a sign that guns are welcome. I just think people deserve publicity for those stances they take either way. And we have an opportunity there to do that. We don't clutter up Facebook with all that, or YouTube with all that kind of thing. I know some people do. They got 99 different types of videos that they do, just whatever strikes them, whatever comes to mind that day, do a video on it and that kind of thing. And that's fine. That's fine. They fill a lot of niches and gaps out there and things. But we try to stick to shooting videos, our vlogs, our FAQ. We have our set videos that we do. That people go to the channel, they know that it's mostly going to be shooting videos. Okay, either an original first gun or a chapter 2 or close up. It's going to be a gun involved, or it's going to be a vlog or a radio show. It's pretty clear what it is. And but on Facebook now we've got over 220,000 followers there, so we can get the word out, and that stuff gets shared actually over there more so than on YouTube. So it gets around a lot of people. I think at that restaurant posting I just put up several days back went to, what was it, like 800,000 folks. So they get a little bit of publicity out of that kind of thing. And again, I assume they're not ashamed of their sign. If I had a restaurant, whatever sign I put out on the door or the front window, I must be pretty committed and have conviction about it, or I wouldn't put it out there on the window for everybody. So I really would expect a check from those people for giving them advertisement, really, about their restaurant. And I will say this, ironically, I had somebody contacted me who has a relative working there and thought it was horrible that I posted that the people working there just working for a living and you're jeopardizing their jobs and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, what? It's like, am I in a reverse world here or something? The Twilight Zone? What is going on? I didn't know what to say. Of course, this guy's comments were rather convoluted. I think he had a few beers or something, but he was really concerned that I was taking money from the pockets of the people working there, and it wasn't their fault and all that kind of thing. Yeah, well, okay. I never thought of it that way, but man, you just need to work for somebody that all I did was give the restaurant publicity for its policy. Talk to the owner if you think it's actually hurting. And then there again, it was kind of funny. The more I thought about it, now wait a minute, why should I feel guilty? I'm just giving him publicity for his policies. This is crazy. Talk to your owner and get him to change his policies. If you think that actually is hurting business, you think that my posting is hurting business, tell him. He needs to know that. Maybe he doesn't realize that people are walking away from his restaurant because they've got to do something with their firearm and they don't want to do it, and they don't want to support somebody that doesn't support their right to carry a firearm. So they've got their carry permit and gone through all the legal means, and the incidence of crime among carry permit holders is like almost nil. I forget what the statistics on that are, but it's compared with the regular population of non-carry permit people, it's like a BB in a basketball. So why would you worry about people carrying a gun in there? Permit carriers, and then of course anybody else, they're going to carry anyway, so it doesn't matter. And then there's also the comment, while I'm on that topic, several people always bring up how concealed is concealed, and well, don't worry about it, nobody's going to know you're carrying a gun and all that kind of thing. Yeah, that's true, and I guess we've all done that. But then again, we got to stand for something here, and you know, yeah, it's just better not to eat there. Not spend money at businesses where they don't like your guns, they don't like your hobby, they don't like your philosophy of life. You think it's makes sense to pack a firearm, they don't think that's safe. You know, I mean, it's hard for me to give my money to somebody like that. You know, so I know there are exceptions. Sometimes you might not have a choice easily, but by and large, we need to call them out on it, and you know, maybe they'll change their policy. Oh, before I forget it, here I am, an hour more into the the show, but I did, oh man, during the snow and everything, I have had a little more time, and so has everybody else. Been writing me messages like crazy, but I did some tedious work on YouTube, and I went through and I at least got all the radio shows in the playlist, you know, the radio show playlist of all things, and the FAQ videos. There were lots of them not in there, okay, and just as most of the videos are not in a playlist. I hope you all know that. I need to remind people of that in videos occasionally, because a lot of people probably think they go to a playlist on whatever, military rifles, that, oh, here's everything he's done on military. Well, not hardly. I'm about 2 years ever putting anything in that playlist, I think. I just got way behind, and it's very tedious, and I'm not even sure where to put some of the stuff, and I just, you know how it is, just, man, things are busy, and I just haven't done that. I don't know if I'll ever get that done. Maybe I'll work on that too some. But anyway, at least the radio shows and FAQ videos are all there. So anybody that's new, help me in recommending to them. If you see a comment, a clueless comment, ignorant comment, you know, and I mean that in a positive way, they just don't know. You know, one of those, the 100th comment of the day about how far is the gong, you know, or something. Just refer them to the FAQ videos, the playlist. They're all in there now. I mean, there might be one or something, but I mean, I think I got them all in there, radio shows as well. Somebody had written recently, told me they were working their way through all the radio shows, and whoa, there's a sick individual, right? Just like a lot of you, if you're listening to this, right? But I'll have to have a sickest puppy award or somebody who's heard all the radio shows. But he said, he was, you know, pointing out, well, I was working my way through all the radio shows, but then at the, you know, at 32, you know, I couldn't find 33, and then there's, you know, there's most of them aren't there, and, you know, whatever. So I did go back and do that. So hopefully that'll help if you want to go back and catch up on some of the sickness, my diseased brain. It's back there. Who knows what I've said? Kind of dangerous, really, encouraging you to go back and listen to all of them, because you probably catch me in all my lies. I'll probably tell you something different in every one, right? That is that's a risky part, really, of stream of consciousness rambling about all these topics over and over. How many times? Like, I don't know. I don't even know what number this is. 50, 60, 70, 80. Oh, that's right. We're up in the 90s on these things, I think. I think this is 95. Yeah, that's right. I don't have visibility on it. I haven't saved it yet. But, yeah, I think it's 95 times I've come out here and rambled. Whew. Well, I hope I'm telling the same story. Probably too often, the same story over and over. But maybe I should talk about something to be of use to you. I don't know, like choosing a gun. I should talk about that every time I do a radio show, probably. Yeah, man, we need to do some more on that, choosing in general. You know, maybe a deep woods thought or something, but and some other things. I know that is really the thing that so many people are facing. It's what so many of the questions are about, and inquiries, and, you know, people trying to decide on a gun. And it's as I've said before, it's a jungle out there. Even if you're experienced, look at me. There really aren't many people, I guess. I mean, there are, but there aren't that many that probably have had more experience with as many different firearms as I have, and owned a bunch of them. Shoot, I'm just a bona fide gun nut. I admit it, confess. And I still have trouble, you know, deciding on what I think is the perfect carry gun, the perfect pocket carry gun, the perfect belt gun, perfect bedside gun. Yeah, I'm still going through all that. like I say, now I'm always well armed, but I'm always tweaking that or thinking about it, trying to make it more comfortable or a better choice for whatever reason it might be. So, wow, somebody that's relatively new to firearms, good luck. I mean, good luck. I mean, think about all the obstacles in your way if you're still relatively new to firearms. You got all the opinions out there. You got the surly gun shop clerks and owners. Not all of them. Many of them are very good because it is competitive, but there's still those surly ones out there, right? The ones that treat you like you're a third-class citizen when you walk in the door. You're afraid to ask a question, or you're afraid to ask to see a gun, hold a gun, and then they act like you're a total idiot, or they, you know how it is. We go through that. And anyway, it's tough. And the sad thing that makes it even more difficult is, you know, you get right down to it. If you've ever noticed, it seems like the most opinionated people in the world, on any topic, the most opinionated, the people with the strongest opinions, can often be the people who have the least experience, you know, or know the least, or they're the ones that are off their rocker. They're leading you down the wrong road on something. So man, it's tough because we all like to run into people that are confident. And there's that, what's it called? One of the philosophers I used to read, The Magic of the Unconflicted Person. That was the phrase that always sticks in my mind. I don't know who it was, Kierkegaard or somebody, Becker, but there is a magic, you know, to that person who seems unconflicted. He has no conflicts in his mind about anything. He is certain, she is certain about this. And if that person is charismatic at all, then we just tend to fall into it. You know, hey man, whatever Joe carries, boy, he really seems to know his stuff. Well, Joe might really know his stuff. Then again, he might not. He might just he'd be fairly inexperienced, and that's just his nature. That's just the way he is about everything. You know, he seems very, very confident about all his choices, and thinks you're going down the wrong road if you don't think the way he does. You know, so I hope I'm never really like that. I guess I am pretty confident about some things, but man, I go through all these same gyrations and rethinking things because I'm always looking for a better way to do things, a better way to carry, a better holster, a better gun, and there is no one answer. It's that simple. That's why it's all these silly arguments about, you know, 1911 versus Glock versus M&P versus this versus SIG, double action trigger versus single action trigger, and safety versus no safety. All those kinds of things, they can make you dizzy. And you just have to do all the research you can and get a lot of different opinions and see what other people are carrying and try to shoot them, and then just jump in, you know, with something you know is a good gun. Because also, as I have said before, in a year, your taste will change. It might not, but it will very likely change because with your experience shooting, let's say you go buy a Shield, for example, or the LC9S or whatever I've been bragging about lately, both good guns, and they'd serve you just fine, you know, any of a number of other guns too. And you go to the range and you shoot the things, weekly, and you just have a lot of fun with it. And it's you're enjoying it, and you're learning to shoot better and better. Well, the more you shoot it, the more you will carve out your opinion about that firearm. It might be one thing that you notice over a period of months that you're not sure about that or something, and you've shot somebody else's firearm, or a buddy has a different gun, and that gun seems like maybe what you'd prefer to have. You're not sure. I mean, it's just always, that's just the whole process of it, you know, because we're all trying to get a little bit better gun. You know, ideally what we want is something about this. I mean, here's the problem. To get right down to it, here's the problem. There are a lot of guns that are just fine, but let me pull out my LC9. Yeah, here it is in my pocket. My LC9S Pro. You just saw a video on it. You better have. And here it is. It's what I've been carrying lately in my pocket. And the problem is, for all of us, is what we really want is just like we want that supermodel, right? Male or female. What we really want is this gun, or a gun this size, or smaller, with as good a trigger, and maybe 45, same capacity, or higher. What we want is this gun in 45 that holds 18 rounds, okay? 100% reliable. This gun, this great trigger, 45 or 40 or 9, whatever your favorite caliber is, and we want 15 or 20 rounds in it, and then still be able to hide it in our pocket, and still be able to hit anything with it. That's really what we want, and that's the problem. It's all a compromise, because you're going to get you're going to get less capacity. It's going to hold fewer rounds the smaller you go, even though it's going to be easier to carry. Or you're going to have to sacrifice the bigger bullet you want. If you think 45 is the only caliber out there, you got even a bigger battle, because there are not that many really small guns in 45, especially pocket guns. So anyway, those are the things we're dealing, and that is the problem. It's always a compromise. If I'm say in law enforcement and I'm carrying a gun on my belt, it's a lot easier choice. It's exposed. I don't have to. Concealment's not an issue. And let's say I work for a department that lets me choose my own gun. There's not many of those around anymore, I guess. But, well, my gosh, that's not a big deal. What caliber do I want? Let's see. Well, I might as well carry 45 and carry as big guns as I want, or maybe 40 or 9. I have a little more capacity. It's strictly my choice. I can go get a big old M&P Smith & Wesson that fits your hand like a glove, and holds whatever it holds, 15, 16, 17 rounds, and 9mm 17 rounds, whatever they hold. Lots of ammo, and or I can get me a big old Glock 21 or Glock 41, just whatever gun I want. Not a problem. It's we citizens, private citizens with carry permits, where it's a bigger issue. We want a gun that we can always have with us. It's not a problem to have. It's not it doesn't become a big ordeal figuring out where to put your gun or how to wear it. Those are the things we face. But yet we want something reliable, something with a little bit of punch to it, that we shoot well, that's safe, and all those things. And there's a lot of guns that fit that description, really, these days. We're in good times, lots of good guns. So shoot as many of them as you can, and realize it's always a compromise. Just practice with it, and you will find something you like better next year. Something will come out that's a little better in your eyes, and that's just the way it evolves. You can trade, you can sell that, get a different one, whatever. Nothing wrong with that. That's part of the hobby. Just make sure you shoot the thing, and you feel really, and you can shoot it well. That's always advisable if you're carrying it, right? So, but anyway, it's a jungle out there, as I always say. It's hard for me, because I'm still back and forth calibers, guns, and I shoot all the time, as you know. I shoot a lot of. I experience what a bullet can do a lot. Okay, and I guess maybe because I've been on my own land for so long, since the early '80s. Well, even when I was a kid, shooting around the farm, and you know how I am. I've been shooting watermelons and shooting stuff, dead trees and everything else, since long before YouTube. And I have a lot of experience just slinging bullets of all sizes, calibers, configurations at things. Well, that's an old water heater, the mud, wood, yeah, you name it, over the years. So I have a lot of experience with that, but I still am not certain in my brain what the ultimate best caliber and gun is. You just got to choose something will work, go with it. Okay. And again, the science is out there now, the research from the medical people and everybody else that's done ballistics research and testing. There's just not enough difference between what a quality 9mm round, 40 caliber round, and 45 caliber round do to the human body. Okay, I know it's gross to talk about. None of us wants to hurt anybody, but there's just not enough difference. So don't get too hung up on that. If you're not hitting part of the central nervous system, you're not shutting them down immediately either way. And any other hit, you're just making people bleed. If you look at the expansion of the rounds, I carry mostly the federal. I forget what. Not because it's federal, but that or the Gold Dot. Oh man, HST. Good rounds. I carry some of the best carry rounds in 9, 40, and 45, and I have full confidence in it. I have no problem carrying a 9mm. I know I'm Hickok45, and I do love a 45. I mean, when I look at my collection, most of my guns are 45 caliber because I love them. But I also like to always have one with me, and sometimes it works out better if it's not a big 45. Yeah. So anyway, it's a tough choice, and if you're new, just don't obsess over it too much, and just, oh man, take it with a grain of salt, any of the opinions you hear from anybody, whether they're in a gun shop or not, and start looking for trends is what I always do when I'm researching firearms. I go through forums, as I've talked about before, and I look for comments, and of course you can see all kinds of negative comments about any gun out there or any business or anybody out there. But if you travel around the internet, and you will start seeing trends, won't you? And you'll realize I was on a forum one time, and I was seeing all these negative comments about this particular gun. But then as I got to other forums in different places, and I was not seeing that as much, just an occasional comment. So you got to get around to a lot of places here, because these are real people. I put a lot of value in that. These are real people. They're anonymous too. And in some ways, that's what creates all the problems on the internet, all the anonymity. But then again, too, you do get a lot of honesty because of that. It's a double-edged sword. And so you begin to see threads and trends and what patterns of what people are saying, what I was trying to say, patterns, either negative or positive. And you can learn a lot. You really can. So that's my advice. And of course, YouTube is a great resource. There's lots of people doing good gun videos. One of the things, of course, you see in YouTube is, and y'all are smart enough. If you're listening to this, you're very smart, right? You're probably IQ is out the roof. But at least I like to believe that, right? But you do get, and y'all can see that when that's what's out there. People doing videos just to get attention. All right. I guess we all do that to some extent. Duh. If nobody watched them, we wouldn't do them. I understand that. But you know what I'm saying. Sometimes in the attempt to create a viral video, or get semi-viral attention, people will say outlandish things or carry on in outlandish ways or rant or whatever. You got to be more dramatic if you don't really have anything to offer. Then all you've got is that. And so you see a lot of that, of course, out there. But then there's also a lot of substantial information. There really is. And I appreciate people that just post things that are useful to folks. I was out here trying to get the bolt off mine. I left a post on the guy's video about it, but I had the M1A out here cleaning it, giving it a thorough cleaning. Once I sent that check, it was mine. I wanted to really take it apart, clean it up, stripped it, and all that. Well, after I did that with the M1A Scout Squad, I thought, you know what? I haven't taken my other one apart totally for a while, and I have never taken the bolt out of it and the op rod off of it because I couldn't. But this one came off easily, so it didn't compute. Anyway, I went back in the house, the safe, and got the original M1A of mine, the full length one you've seen, and brought it out here. So okay, got confidence now. I took that op rod off and everything, bolt out without any trouble, put it back together. So I get this one apart, stock off, and everything, and I'll be darned, I cannot get the operating rod off of it. I cannot get the bolt out of it. It's just like the last time I tried. I was about to scream. Well, what happens? I was reminded of this fantasy land far away called YouTube. And it occurred to me, I had heard that people actually post videos there, something besides stupid radio shows. and they actually show you how to do things. You can actually learn things there about different firearms and all that. So I got my phone out and just searched for what I put in Google difficult op rod removal or something like that, and I landed. Lo and behold, I think it was the first video up was problem op rod removal or something. So that's me. Clicked on it, watched the video, and the guy, and I can't remember his name, it was like 1895 MTRG or something, but I put it in my favorites, by the way, if you want to look at it, if you have the same problem. But I watched that video, and he had a little trick he was showing. Just pry it out with a screwdriver, just ever so slightly, and then pop upward with a wooden mallet or something on the handle of the op rod, and it pops right off. I said, yeah, okay, that looks simple. Let me try that just so I can be even more frustrated and know that mine is the one in the world that is never going to come off. But sure enough, first time it popped right off. So, I mean, you know, there's good stuff out there on YouTube. And this guy, I don't think he had many subscribers or anything. There's just a lot of good people doing, worthy stuff on the internet, on YouTube. And it's just wonderful. I know you've had that experience probably lots of times. You might be looking up about how to do wallpapering or just anything. Somebody's got a video. It may not even be a great video, but it's somebody probably who actually is doing it, who has struggled with the same things that other people are struggling with, you know, and they've learned a few tips about it. So even if you can't see what they're doing well or whatever, there's probably something to learn from it. And it's a great thing. I'm a believer in YouTube now and thinking about posting some videos. But anyway, when I got in the house on my computer, I went right to the guy's channel, and because I don't access YouTube other than just to look at it on my phone, but I went in there, logged in, and wrote him a note about how he saved my life after 20 years of not having never having taken that operating rod and bolt out of that gun. I literally 20 years. I had tried several times, and I couldn't understand. I knew how it was supposed to come off, but okay, yes, I don't want to force it and break it. I know my limitations. I know enough not to be too dangerous, okay, end up breaking something. So I would just clean it without taking the bolt out, and, you know, the operator. You don't have to take all that out, but it's nice to be able to do it, you know. I mean, that's part of the field strip, so it's good to know a trick for doing it now. And but anyway, there's a lot of good stuff out there, and one day maybe we'll post something worthwhile like that. Speaking of viewers and you weirdos over there on the other side of the computer or TV, as I was reminded of recently, somebody said, you do realize, don't you, Hickok, that a lot of us are watching you on our television, our smart television, and not on computers? And okay, I believe it. You know, I know John does that. John doesn't even get his computer out for seeing a YouTube video. He just puts it on his smart TV, right? I've still got a dumb TV. But anyway, what was I going to say? Oh, I know what I was going to say. I was going to say, yeah, we do enjoy meeting you guys, despite my recent video, you know, where I had to kind of come down a little hard on compound visits of any kind. But that's a function of numbers is mostly what that is, other than the liability and all those issues, privacy. But I was pleased that almost everybody got that, got it, you know, really, because. Yeah, again, you guys are the reason we do this, and I never want to do anything that makes it look like we don't appreciate you, because we really do appreciate you more than you know. Even though I'm sure, you know, I'm a little bit like I used to tell my students this beginning of the year as part of my first day or two speech to them. That I'm a little bit like Jekyll and Hyde, I would tell them. I said, and I confessed to it. I said, you know, we will have so much fun this year because I enjoy doing this. I enjoy, you believe it or not, I'm so sick. I actually enjoy teaching middle schoolers. I'm as crazy as you are, and it's a great fit and all that. I said, but by the same token, beware, watch out for my Mr. Hyde, my my other side, because as long as we're all on task, and when I need for us to get back on task or something, or whatever we're doing, we need to do it. I said, and I do not tolerate, I'll warn you, I do not tolerate smart alecks at all. He said, I will not be smart aleck to you. I'll never be mean to you. I might be strict at times, but I will never be mean. I will never, seize the opportunity to tell your parents how bad you're being and all that kind of stuff. I don't play those games. I said, I'll be your best advocate when I'm talking with your parents. Even if you've been a bad boy, a bad girl, whatever, to some extent, I'm probably going to minimize that more than anything. And if I ever have to just let them know about something, you don't have to worry about me trying to be your enemy in any way. I don't do this for the money. I do it because I enjoy it. And you guys are fun to teach. You're fun to, where else can I get a captive audience to pick on all day long and actually get paid a little bit for it? So anyway, I'd give them that speech, but I would remind them that it's a speech from the heart. That I am a little Jekyll and Hyde, and you'll see that a couple of times if you're like way slow to get moving, if we're ready to get back to work or something, or if I get a smart aleck remark or something, I don't tolerate that well, and then you'll see the other side of me, and we'll have to deal with you, very, very quickly, so that's just the way I am. I'm very laid back, but I just don't tolerate smart alecks or people that just really have one purpose, and that is to cause trouble or something. And so anyway, there are people out there on the internet, that is their primary goal, whether they're a troll or they're envious or whatever the situation is with them. And I block people. I don't even hesitate. They come through with this stupid, asinine remarks, nothing obviously intended other than just to cause trouble or something, so I do have that side to me, and it's just not my normal operating procedure. But I'm sure there's people out there really, really mad at me because I blocked them or something, or they don't understand. But it's the way it is. You don't have to be complimentary, but just don't be a troublemaker. If you see those people, what I'd like to do is turn them around somehow, keep them on board, and make converts out of them to some extent. Even if they don't like me, maybe they get something from the videos about the firearms, and they'll become a Second Amendment advocate. We need everybody we can, pushing the wheelbarrow, not riding in it. And of course, there's going to be immature people. There's going to be troublemakers. There's a lot of people in the world just weren't raised very well. Some, probably you've seen them. There's just there's some sick people out there. There really are. And that's why, again, I have so much security at the compound here, and I really can't have people coming by. That's just the way it is. Anybody that has ever come by, is in a video somewhere on camera, got cars and tag numbers and everything, and that's the way it needs to be. In case there ever had to be an investigation of some sort. But it's a shame to have to be, I guess, unfriendly, as like the guy said. And by the way, there was a little bit of confusion about that. The guy, well, there were several stopped by, but the one who posted, he didn't post a video. I didn't write that or say that correctly, I guess. He didn't post a video about it. He posted on a video. He posted a comment on it was the most recent Arsenal AK, video, chapter 2. And he posted a comment on the video is what I meant to say. And at least with him. And I left it up there for several days, and I answered him kind of the way I answered, approached it in the video. But he said a couple of things there, though. I didn't want to leave up too long. I won't go into why, but I just, again, made it easier for maybe people to find it and all that kind of. So I finally took it down, mainly for those reasons, not because of what he said, because obviously you all saw how stupid that was. And he actually seemed like he was probably a nice guy. He just wasn't thinking, just wasn't thinking. And that's the way that goes. while I would like to offer even more than we do, it's just difficult to do that. And basically, John's and my contribution to the firearms cause, and I mean that in all the various ramifications of it, Second Amendment, whatever, education, whatever. Our contribution is primarily and almost exclusively just what we do in the videos. I mean, that's it. I mean, that has to be pretty much enough. that's our contribution, okay, to the cause. In 50 years, you know, I hope somebody can look back and say, well, those guys, they made a nice contribution to the cause, you know, support the Second Amendment back there in the whatever, 2000, you know, 9, 10, 11, 12, whatever. And, you know, that's got to be it pretty much for all the reasons I mentioned in that video, you know, for security, liability, and everything else. We can't do everything, can't see everybody and all that sort of thing. Anything else is just gravy. If I can answer a lot of the comments on Facebook and on the YouTube, that's just, I can't even guarantee that, you know, or we're doing that many meet and greets, but I like doing it. It just takes a lot of time, and it's hard to do it. I can't even be a shooter if I just answer everybody's questions, even on Facebook. It's incredible, the uptick really in messages and questions on Facebook, and a lot of those I just can't even answer. I don't have time. I try to skim them. Of course, just opening them, and you know, it takes time, at least on my connection. And then, you know, and then I just have to move on. I said that many times. You know, a lot of times it's, can you do a video on this, or do you have this, or have you ever had one of these guns? You do a video on. Well, those I notice, and I make mental note, but I don't answer those. You know, I just make a mental note of it. And then lots of them I can't answer. I don't have time. So I have basically go through and just pick the ones that I think I have a worthy answer to, you know, and particularly, and then as you can imagine, if you're kind of narrowing down what you can talk about or answer, if it's something that's in an FAQ video, if it's in a vlog, if it's in a video, even if it's in a video, you know, maybe, I mean, I'm getting to the point where there's so many of them. If this is something that's been discussed in videos, it's been demonstrated in several of our videos, or it's been answered in FAQ video, that kind of thing, I need to move on to questions that are not in any of that, or that, you know, I've never addressed, but yet I have an opinion, or I have an answer for this person, you know, that sort of thing. So, and I have to assume that, okay, I'm sorry, but, you know, if you hang around, you'll see what I think about that, or, you know, those sorts of things, because it's in, you know, 5 of the videos, or it's in a lot of the radio shows. And I mean, if you don't have time to see the videos or listen to the radio shows, sorry, but I don't have time to answer all these questions either. So that's that kind of deal. But anyway, I try to answer a lot of them, and y'all know that because many of you listening probably have written something, and I've answered it, and then some of you have written and I've not, you know. But like I say, a lot of things I just don't answer. It's automatic. I don't answer. If someone asks me, have you ever done a video with this, or you have one of these, if I have it, I've done a video with it. That's pretty much the case, right? And then of course, searching, you search the channel and you can find anything that we've done. And so lots of times I answer with that, you know, check out FAQ video 54, and you know, it shows you how to search the channel, and you can find. That's my biggest regret, is I don't have everything in a playlist. Now I don't know if I'll ever get them all in there, but again, they're there. You just search the channel, like I do when I go to somebody else's. But anyway, what else was I going to talk about? Anything important? Let's see. That's pretty funny. If there's anything important to say, I'd say it in a video. As I've said before, these radio shows are for the unimportant stuff, right? Anything important, duh. Like I could say anything important. Oh, I just thought I ran into, speaking of viewers and you folks, listeners, I had gotten a message, and you might be listening, from a Fort Campbell soldier, 101st, I believe, yeah, from Afghanistan. I had a message from him a few weeks ago about him and his buds, how they watched the videos over there, and they wanted to meet me when they got back, because they're based in Clarksville. They're right up the road here, and and I kind of had to give them the same answer. Yeah, it'd be great. I'm up there quite often at Tennessee Gun Country or around. We'll be doing hopefully more meet and greets. But, difficult to have anybody, at the compound, pretty much impossible. And all that. So anyway, chatted with him a little bit online there, and then I'll be darned if I wasn't in Tennessee Gun Country a few days ago. And he was in there. He was back over here from Afghanistan, and there he was standing in the gun shop, and he came up and said hi, and we talked for a long time. I could give his name, I guess I shouldn't. But anyway, that was pretty cool. And we talked about a lot of stuff there at the gun shop. So not hard to find me. I'm usually in a gun shop or at a gun show, right? And really, I am. I go to almost all the gun. Well, I don't know about all the gun shows, but I go to most of the gun shows around my area, and I see a lot of you all there, and that's great. So it's a little bit like a meet and greet. I've always gone to gun shows every month. Since I was 20, I guess, and so I'm there, and as I've said before, say hi if you see me. Yeah, I'm there looking at stuff or whatever, but never too busy to say hi to y'all. So always speak up. It's neat to meet viewers, and so if you see a big ugly guy, it's me. It's funny because so often I'll be at a table and I'll say something to the whoever's running that table of guns or whatever. I get to talking. And quite often someone will say, "Aren't you Hickok?" And it's, I didn't recognize you till I heard you talk. I heard your voice. So a lot of people just don't get it when they see me. Either I'm taller than they expect, dumber looking than they expect, or in person or something. I don't know. But they recognize my voice. It's so funny. You would think someone that's 6'8", would be pretty easy to recognize, if you've been watching the videos, but quite often it's just from my voice. So I try to keep quiet when I'm in a gun show. No, I don't. Just kidding. Gosh, I've talked too much, and I've probably talked more and said less than even some of the other radio shows. So let me wrap it up here and let you guys get away. Don't forget the meet and greets, the March the 28th in Florence, Kentucky. That's up there. If you don't know where Florence is, it's just, I-75 runs right through it. And it's about, 9 miles south of Cincinnati over in Kentucky. And it's up there off of Lloyd Avenue. They got a website, Triggers Guns. They got 4 locations, but the one we're going to be at is there on Lloyd Avenue, I think, in Florence. Only one in Florence. And it's right off the interstate. And so we're going to be there on the 28th from 1 to 3, I believe. So I hope you can make it. And I will have more radio shows and all that before that comes up. But it's not a little over a month away, though. Time flies. So do not be that guy or gal who writes me after that meet and greet or another one and says, Hickok, you were up here, or you were at Florence, or wherever you were in Gatlinburg, or at a meet and greet, and I didn't know it. I live right here, so we try to let you know, so you can show up and see us in person, at least me, and make the determination if I'm as ugly as I am on the computer screen or your smart TV. And I'm always glad to meet you. Okay, so glad y'all are out there listening and watching. And I'm also glad we got a few videos, in the bank here, because this weather is horrible. And, that is one reason we just make videos whenever we get the guns or the weather's nice. And, some people seem to just not understand that the leaves are out or there's no leaves or something when we post a video. We just make, hopefully, useful videos about a particular firearm or something else, and what's on the trees pretty irrelevant to us, and I think to you too, generally speaking. But if the only videos we posted were what we did that day or the day before, there'd be a lot of weeks where there'd be no videos, okay? Like the 2 weeks we were out at SHOT Show, the last couple of weeks we've had this horrible weather and all that sort of thing. So anyway, our system works pretty well for us. Hope it works well enough for you. Some of you keep coming back, so you either like it or you just, I don't know, you're just not very smart or something. I don't know. Maybe you're not very smart. That's why you relate to us. Yeah, okay, we'll live with that. No, all seriousness aside, we appreciate you guys, and we will chat at you later. I'll think of some more inane topics, some mundane things that you're not really interested in, and we'll talk about it. Y'all take care. Come back and see me. You've been listening to the Hickok 45 radio show. See you on the range.